everybody. How's it going today? Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday. Looks like we made it to another week. I'm really glad you're here. I'm excited, and I think we're going to have a good part one here. So let's make this happen. I'm going to go make sure, of course, that my video is up here so I can see it on the big screen. Make sure the color and picture is okay. So I'm just going to go over here, go back to my videos, and I should see part one. Hey, what's up? How you doing? So we have Willie and Wendy. Good to see you guys. So glad you're here. That's exciting. And I'm going to go to my videos, and I'm trying to see if it's here yet. And I don't see it on YouTube yet, which is quite fascinating. Let me just go back to home screen here and just give me a few moments, guys. Go to my videos. There it is. Okay, good. So we're in business, and the picture looks pretty good, and the sound's not too bad. What do you guys think? Hey, John, how's it going? Good to see you. So glad you're here. So as you see, we have this beautiful painting of, my Tone. Good to see you, Brad. How are you guys? So glad you're here. Let me get rid of the sound on my TV, because that would be some wicked back sounds, and that wouldn't be good. Let's see here. All right. So that's cool. So right now, let me see if I can get that photo for you so you at least could see what I'm working on, right? Let's see. So I'm just going to add source here, pictures. So of course this is Gene Tierney, and you guys know I love Gene Tierney. I don't think that's any secret. So here we go. This is the photo. Look at that beautiful photo that we're working from. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, oh, thanks, Tone. I appreciate that. Raul, how's it going? Good to see you. Thanks, John. Thanks, Willie, for that. Really appreciate letting me know that the sound and picture quality is not too bad. I have the air conditioner on, but if I actually went ahead and put the fan, it'll actually be really crazy loud. So I got my lime tea here, so that's not too bad. So remember, so this time I'm not going to worry you guys with the drawing. The drawing's already worked out perfectly, so we can come right in with color, which is very cool. So let's go and take our Omni, which is the sight line right here. It's a pretty cool little airbrush. Yeah, it's not too bad, Wendy. Thanks. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white mixture right here, which is basically your Drew Blair's illustration paints, the 50-50 white, and I mixed it half and half with reducer. So that's pretty easy. It's going to be a nice light mixture. We're not going crazy. We're not wanting to do overall coverage or anything like that. We just want to create a little bit of a three dimensions when we start in with the airbrush. So nothing out of the ordinary. Pretty cool. Let me put my gloves on. I don't like this one. You get these cheap. This is a good one I got from Huion, but the cheap one, they drive me crazy. I hate cheap ones. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go and test first before I put it on my beautiful drawing there. So we're just going to make sure that this stuff is working. I'm going to put it on a different hose that has a MAC valve. This one doesn't. You don't have to buy the MAC valves that are You know, if you're on a budget, you can get the less expensive ones. So here we go. We have the other Mac valves. You know, the ones that you can put right in the hose. I think we're in good shape. All right, so let's put a little bit more in here. So how you guys doing today? I hope everyone's fine, healthy, and doing well. It's been a rough couple of months, hasn't it? Right? That's understatement of the year, guys. But we're here. We're artists. We're gonna have some fun, talk about technique. You know. Yeah, thank you, Brett. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been refreshing to, you know, be ready with a, you know, a drawing to hit the ground running. You know what I mean? So that's really cool. So I'm very happy about that. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with. Oh, this airbrush is the Omni Sightline. It's really cool. It's available on USAairbrushsupply.com. And of course, use timothypsa if you're interested in getting one. Get 10% off. So I like this little airbrush. I think it's a beautiful little thing. It does what it needs to. So as you can see, what I'm doing is just putting in that white a little bit. Let me just darken it just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm not doing the highlights, but I'm just creating some of those lights, you know what I mean? And this way when we come in with the dark, it's pretty cool. Yes, definitely. I would just email the customer service at USAairbrushsupply.com. They'll take good care of you. So as you can see, I'm taking my time, not going crazy. And I'm a good 4 inches away. And having this very light mixture, very diluted mixture, you're able to, you know, be very subtle. And I'll even go maybe 5 to 6 inches away. I'm pretty far away. I'm just creating sort of that feeling of a lighter value than the paper, and use my paper as the mid-tone. Oh yeah, these are more of your detail airbrushes, you know, like nail artists, stuff like that. Definitely only for nail artists and fine artists. Wouldn't be for any of your custom painters out there, or your muralists or t-shirt painters. Still with the 1 second rule, right? You still want to use that 1 second rule. It is very similar to the 2020 Slim. The difference really is the 2020 Slim has that teeny tiny nozzle, but the this one has the cone-shaped nozzle that the Patriots have. And so I do like this one. They're different. They have different feels to them. So I can't say one's better than the other. I would probably go with the 2020 Slim though, if I had a choice between the two. And this is a close second. The Omnis have a different feel. It's almost like apples and oranges, you know? But if you haven't tried an Omni, definitely give them a shot. They are beautiful airbrushes. And they have their own feel to them, but they're no backseat to Iwata or Badger. That's for sure. Yeah, so they're different, Willie. But you know, they definitely definitely have to try it to, feel the difference. It might be something that you would love, you never know. So this part is so important, this putting in the white, guys, that's for sure. So it's refreshing that I don't have to go in and, continue, do the drawing at this stage. This is the same needle size as the Slim and the 105. So it's definitely a detailed airbrush, Raoul. But that was a good question. I will use my freehand shield to get this really nice edge here. I'm going to lower that air pressure. What am I, painting a t-shirt? So let me just calm down with that there. But none of the airbrushes are as smooth as the Extreme Patriot Arrow, that's for sure. And I'm just, that's just my own opinion. I use them like every day. So the Extreme Patriot Arrow really doesn't have much competition when it comes to me. There goes the compressor. So that's not bad. Oh, so we're gonna paint her beautiful arm and her. Let me see if I can just lighten this just a little bit. It's okay to lighten a little bit. That's fine. No problem. There you go. Just lighten it a little bit. Nothing too crazy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this beautiful edge here. Oh, you see that? Always the 1 second rule and pay attention to what you're doing. I almost put white where the shadows would be. So that would have been a real bad thing. So, always take your time, assess the situation, look long before you paint. Just a couple of seconds of carelessness could, you could be paying for that your whole painting. So you don't want to do that. So I really love the sense of light we're getting already, which is really, really great. That's why you get that white, because of that sense of light, which, is really indispensable, I feel. Far away. I got low air pressure. So what you're going to do is you're going to crawl along the surface. You're not going to be able to get that edge all at once. I'm so far away. I'm just applying that white ever so lightly, guys. This is going to be tricky, so parallel, perpendicular, not parallel. See that? But look at the sense of light we're getting already. See, that's sort of efficiency, right, guys? Efficiency. And far away. Remember, far away. Make sure you're thinking when you're painting, Like chess, every move is for a reason. Every move is for your subsequent move or an ultimate strategy. So, very important. So, I'm just going to let this dry a little bit real quick, right over here. Make sure that white isn't coming out. Let that dry. So, as I'm letting it dry, as it's dry, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase a little bit, where the bicep and the triceps sort of meet here. There's a little gap, and I just want to use the paper to express that just a little bit, just to give, I want to give volume, right? That's what we want. We want to start feeling 3 dimensions in the very beginning. We want to paint to win all the time. Okay, so how many people are in the chat room right now, or in the on the live stream so far, guys? And of course, we're going to crawl along the surface. There we go. Seven, not good. What are you gonna do, right? You can't be popular with everybody, But I'm glad you guys are here. But this is important stuff, so I'm glad you guys are getting this. Oh, cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Tone, Brad, and Willie and Wendy. Thank you. So, this is really going to help you in your own painting, and that's, really why I do the live streams. So look, I'm a good 4 to 5 inches away. Now, you're going to have to lower the air pressure so you can, really have the aim. You're going to lose some atomization, I guess, but everything's a toss-up, If you're going to get something, you got to give something, right? Better than none. Well, I'm happy you guys are here, Tone. I'm happy you're here and everyone else, so I know whoever's here is meant to be here. I always say that. You don't want to be doing too much drawing with the airbrush because the drawing should have been taken care of early on. But if you have to adjust, then that's a different story. But your goal should always be not to have to adjust, right? There we go. Pretty happy with the way this part's coming out. Now we do have some little lights here and there, but you know what? Couldn't that be taken care of with the white pastel down the line? Yes. So, let's see, where else can we do? Hey John, good to see you. How's it going, sir? So glad you can make it, my friend. Go. And we don't want to go too crazy with the white. This is just, in the early going, just to get us started. Let's see if we have anything. Now, if it's just a normal, like small light or something like that, you definitely can take care of that later down the line with the white pastel. So, no need to go into that right now. So. Alright, so I think we're okay for the white. So with that being said, I'm going to make sure that I clean out my airbrush because we don't want the white to sit. Everyone knows me that you can actually drink out of my airbrushes. I'm really a stickler for cleanliness when it comes to having an airbrush really work 100%. You know what I mean, guys? So I always clean my airbrush far away from my painting. I don't want that to hinder it. I'm just using soap and regular water, no soap. And I'm just cleaning that out with a, let's see if I can change my, there we go. Let's move this over so you can see just a regular Q-tip in water. Seems to do the trick. And then I will shoot some more. Oh, don't shoot it on electronics. Yeah, don't spray the water onto your laptop. That's always bad. And then once that's done, then I'm going to take out the needle. Well, with these, it's not like, you know, it has this, I don't like this backing here, but you pull that out. And you're just going to, so when I clean the needle, I make sure that I also use my fingernails and any paint that's on the very tip or ink you'll see, and you can just pull that off, which is really good. So before so before I go ahead and put it back together, I'm just going to run some ink through there, not some water I should say. Make sure I put that, okay, that's good. So let's put some water in there. So this ounce of prevention, rather than let it sit there, your airbrush is going to last forever. And you're never going to have to put anything crazy cleaning equipment in there or any kind of, you know, hull cleaner or God knows what. Your airbrush is going to run perfect. This is a beautifully clean with just water. Okay, so we'll put her away, and then we'll come back with my favorite airbrush in the world. And you guys know what my favorite airbrush in the world is. I don't have to tell yous. Dun, 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 dun. This is the Extreme Patriot Arrow by Badger. Love this brush. Of course, I got rid of that crazy high whatever trigger that was there. That had to go. And so I made a few other modifications, and it just does wonders by me. So let's go back to our normal scene here. Yes, that little spot of cleavage is just going to be with the white pastel at the end, Brad. Good question. That's such a small little area. So John says, I've been pointing people to your live. Oh, you've been pointing people to the live streams. Thank you so much. Oh, and John, thank you for that with the construction drawing. You know, it's so important, and I really appreciate that. You know, more the merrier. So thank you, John. You know, for getting the word out there. Definitely. So that was like a very quick how I clean my brushes, and most people will tell you you need Windex or what, but I've been doing just fine being on top of my game, being on top of my cleaning. And you see how clean my airbrushes are. They are pristine. There's no ink or anything anywhere. Not on the inside, nothing. So, you know, soap and water 99% of the time should be fine. Just regular water, sorry. What's my fixation with soap? Oh my goodness. Okay, light mixture. Let's make this happen. So here's our light mixture. That's part of my ink mixture set. And so we're going to be working with my ink mixture set in this painting using the Extreme Patriot Arrow. And then way down the line, of course, we're going to use white pastel. The paper I'm using is Color Line by Canson. It is an amazing sort of cardstock, but it's artist quality cardstock. It's archival, light fast. Same thing with the inks. They're archival, they're light fast, they're going to last forever. So all that is really good news. Okay, I'm going to make sure that my airbrush is working correctly. Oh yes, white pastel for the hair and the highlights in the hair, John. Also in the nose, really, and all these little circles in her, like little pearls. So yeah, it's really, I'm really like planning this out like one, maybe 8 steps at a time, 8 steps ahead, you know. So it's all going in that direction. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get acclimated. It's the first time I'm airbrushing today. So I'm just going to, with the light mixture, I'm just going to start with the large shape of the hair here. Now, it's important that you don't stay in one area. You don't want to oversaturate the surface. You can always come back and do another coat. You know what I mean? You can always come back. You don't want to oversaturate the surface. You kind of destroy the surface, number one. And number two, you can stain it and it would be hard to get a smooth gradation. And you don't want that to happen. Whoop, I hit my T. So we're just going to continue doing this large shape here. And I'm about 2.5 inches from the surface. We can use our freehand shield early and often. So you want to use it when it calls for it, okay? So it has to be for a very good reason, and you can start using them early if you see there's a beautiful hard edge that you want to get. And no time like the present to go get that hard edge. So right now what I'm doing is I'm painting the cartoon, and that's what the 19th century, all the way back to the Renaissance. In the early going, they always said first they're painting the cartoon. There's a reflected light here, and I'm going to establish that reflected light early. So even though everything's going to be much lighter than in the final, I'm just going to make sure that I leave that reflected light indicated, and I'll darken everything up as needed. So I'm gonna paint the large shapes first, and then we'll get in with the small shapes. Sometimes I'll go in the early going and attack the the eyes and everything. But I think I'm going to just calm down a little bit with that and just try today just working on the large shapes. A lot like an oil painter would, like a John Singer Sargent or someone like that. They would work with the big brushes first and then the small brushes. That's how I was originally trained in oil painting. Now, would I tell you when that was? No way. I'm not giving up my age, that's for sure. I'm not going to date myself. Okay, so let's go ahead and just paint this wonderful cast shadow here. Like I said, I'm far away. I'm using the light mixture. I'm just establishing shapes right now. I'm not worried about value. Relative value, yes, but I'm not worried about getting the value perfect. There's this nice cast shadow from her ornamental jewelry on her head. Brad says he wouldn't date him either. That's funny. I know, it is. Only those who know me, Ray. You know me, so you could figure it out, Wendy. I'm like Jack Benny. I'm always 39. Or Rochester. Now those might not know what I meant when I said, oh, Rochester. There we go. Just see, getting those large shapes, and then we'll come in with the smaller shapes as we go. In the last painting, I had some trouble with her lips. This painting is going to be about that, about learning from the last painting, hopefully. Oh yes, Wendy, you are 29. Everyone knows that. 29 is a good age. You can be irresponsible and it's okay because you're 29. But I felt once I hit 30, those days were over. Ah, you got a spirit of a young guy there, Willie. That's more important. Someone said, Tim, you're obsessed with Jean Tierney. You keep painting her. And I'm like, what's your point? But she has, just great bone structure and just amazing to paint. Perpendicular, my friends, and not parallel. 1 second rule. You guys know the deal. Just establishing the really nice edge there. So, Willie, I have good news. The person who was purchasing that painting that you're interested in, they did bow out, and so I'll email you tonight as to how much it would be if you're still interested, my friend. And so I'm just painting the large shapes. Oh, fantastic. So we'll talk either later tonight or tomorrow, and I'll give you an amazing price. I take care, my friends. And so you can see how, careful planning as we did is really paying off. And it's very important, it's important to have that planning, and it's important to have that solid drawing, right guys? I really feel that is absolutely positively crucial. And lately, my paintings have been about working on the hard areas that in the past I would have shied away from. And you see this little insignia here? That's exactly what I'm working on. That's exactly what I'm actually attacking and not getting afraid, going full force into it, I find that what we shy away from, whether it be water or glass, is actually so much easier to paint once we get over the fear of it. You know what I mean? So okay guys, I am going to take a very quick bathroom break, But talks among yourselves. I'll be right back after these messages. I am back, and this time it's personal. So I hope you guys are still there. It's like, how many people in the room? Well, now we have one. That's you, Tim. So I hope you guys are still out there. Nature called. Had to take care of that. All right, so let's continue to make this happen, guys. So I like the light that we're getting, right? Even though we're just beginning, we're getting that sense of light. And if we can get that sense of light in the beginning, then that could just carry us all the way to the end of the painting. And that's the whole philosophy of the, the neoclassicist painters, the 17th century Dutch painters such as Vermeer, the 19th century French academic painters such as William Bouguereau, so really that's what we're after. We're after that sense of light. So when I was trained, there's always like, you want the painting to stand out, let's say from 10 feet away, right? You want to have that sense where it just carries. And if we concentrate on that or have that in back of our minds throughout, I think it will really serve us well in the end of the painting. So the beginning of the painting is like the beginning of the battle, right? You want to have a solid foundation and a solid plan that's going to carry you through the end of the painting. So you see, I'm still using my freehand shields. I'm getting that really wonderful edge work early on. And we're just going to crawl along the contours there with the freehand shield. There are no points for speed, so you're just going to take your time. No points for speed. Speed happens. Great. It's fantastic. You don't have speed, who cares? I don't care, you don't care. So are you guys still out there? Am I still online? Is this an audience or an oil painting? Ronnie Dangerfield used to say that. Or he'd be like, I know you're out there, I hear you breathing. Okay. Large shapes. That's what we're after right now. Just some large shapes. And so we're looking at edges of light and dark. We want that painting to be in a gallery, up there with other paintings by other artists. And your painting just knocking the other paintings off the wall. Hey, so John, Brad, Tone, thanks for checking in, my friends. go. So you see, right now we are doing the right thing. Got this beautiful dark here of the hair, right? Just really beautiful. So, but let's start working on some of those edges. And let's see. Perpendicular and not parallel. Because as you can see, perpendicular, not parallel, you are having that value have a nice fade, nice gradation. You do perpendicular, if you do parallel, you are going to have a nice dark edge that you're going to have to fix. So why not take care of the problem before it happens? The best defense is not to be there, right? That's what they say. Say that in karate. Beautiful contours, beautiful shapes crawling along the surface. Okay, so why buy my mixtures? Because you don't have to worry about dilution. You don't have to worry. You know that, when I call for the light mixture, you're going to have the exact light mixture that I have. So you'll be on the same page with me if you're working on a project with me or on your own. There we go. So you see, we're just creating those beautiful edges and those beautiful value shapes, large value shapes next to one another. This whole painting, I'm pretty far away from the surface, right? I'm not close. I'm pretty far away. I'm just worrying about the edges with the freehand shield and also with the lights against the darks and looking at the big shapes. Nothing small right now, and we're just gonna hit the big areas, and then we'll go back and we'll attack the small areas. Angra always says, paint the ensemble. Make the painting feel like it was done all in one breath. So, a lot of people, oh, Willie says I never move my work like that. I've got to try it. It's very rare that I do it, Willie, very rare. You hardly see me do it. But at this point, I was saying to myself, I want to get that edge and I don't want to contort my airbrush. So as long as I'm paying attention to what my reference is, it's no problem, But the 1 second rule is always important, But yeah, give it a try as long as you're paying attention and don't get lost, I think it would be great. So I got to make sure that I'm paying attention to this area right here. See, it's much lighter here. And so I'm going to definitely not go dark with that. So this is Gene Tierney. It's probably like my 10th Gene Tierney that I did. Different poses, of course. Worrying about the big shapes here. So I am starting a second channel. It's a digital art channel, guys. And it's really going to be a good channel because it's going to be geared for those who are using it, who work in different mediums such as the airbrush. So it definitely will be in, it really will help out the artist using digital art, working with references and changing them to suit you and suit your purposes. So it's going to give you an edge over other artists. So I really highly recommend it. There we go. Let's put in those nostrils while we're here. Not yet. I'm thinking of like digital painting for everyone or something like that. Something just to, separate ourselves from those people who just bark out like Control Alt X, and do that. But try and make it simple and just, to try and, paint with, the least amount of memorization of all those functions. And I've been doing it that way, and it's been working, and then slowly you build on it. But be able to work and do the work right away and get encouraged, that's what I really want the class to be about. The channel to be about. A lot like airbrushing. This airbrush channel, it's really geared for those to... Oh, thanks, John. It's really geared for people to enjoy digital painting, just like this channel is geared for people to enjoy their airbrush now and not when they go on some, airbrush getaway, but today, that's what my channel is about here. And so these are hard edges here. So what I'll do is I'm going to use my freehand shield here. Always perpendicular, not parallel. And those who are new to my channel know that I repeat this over and over again, but that's how my teachers taught me, by repeating these almost mantras, and that really helps. And one day you'll be teaching your students perpendicular and not parallel. And we'll just let that area dry. That got too wet. But it dries, you'll see. It'll dry. And then worst comes to worst, we'll smooth that out with further coverage. Dagger stroke. Dagger strokes are good. They do help. Not always, but they do help. And let's see, what else? Okay, see this nice dark here. So what I'll do is I'll establish the dark underneath this hand. Crawl along the surface, perpendicular and not parallel. The reason why I say crawl along the surface, because you're not going to always find that edge, right away with your freehand shield, right? So it's best to crawl along the surface, and this way you don't have to find that edge perfectly. Go. Now right here we have this edge. I'm just going to try and lighten this just a little bit. Weird noises outside my window. I'm not looking. Sounds like a gun or something. But like I said, I lived in Paterson, New Jersey, so when I hear gunshots, I don't go to the window. Hey, Bill, how's it going? Oh, so Willie says he swears he hears me in his head when he's painting. That's good because I hear Harvey Dinnerstein and my teachers in my head all the time. Just when I want to get away with something, right, Willie? It's like, I hear Harvey saying, "What are you doing?" And oh, so Bill, how's it going? Good to see you, my friend. How you feeling? Yes, exactly. Hit the ground. You know. Yeah, that definitely is gunshots. So I don't know. Weird. Or it's kind of early for fireworks because 4th of July is like a month away. Okay, so we got some good things going on right now, and so there's like a cast shadow over here. I'm not going to take care of that cast shadow just yet. You know why? Because this shadow right here, this area is much darker, and I want to establish this in a much more bold dark, but I'm not ready to do that just yet. So I'm not going to confuse the shapes by going in dark with this just yet. Now this is much darker, but I got to make sure that this stays lighter than this value here. I'm just doing the cartoon. See that? Just the overall cartoon of what we're working on that we can build. Oh, so John says he just ordered a drafting table and a projector. He has some interesting stuff planned to bridge digital. Oh, that's going to be great, John. And I'm always here to answer any questions. Yeah, and Bill says he hates the 4th, so makes him want to kill his neighbors. And John says he'd like to see more technical minimalist approach to digital and focus on technique more than the medium. Exactly, and that's exactly what I want to do, John, is I want it to be more about what you're painting and not just, us, how they go crazy with all these different functions and everything, just to try and pare it down to its simplest form, right? And that's what we do in traditional art. So we don't try and make things more complicated in traditional art. We try to do them more simply. And it's okay not to have all the little bells and, gadgets and gizmos when it comes to digital painting. I know I'm happy with just creating a good painting. I'll work on the background and get all those. I'd rather get paint the bricks on the wall rather than, use some, what they call like a filter mask or something like that. I'd rather do it myself. But in an easy way, I'm not killing myself, right, John? So you see right now, we are just handling the large shapes. Now, right here in the back of her arm, before I move on, I want to still make sure that I hit all the large shapes, not just some of them. I usually, do this, but I think recently I started with the approach of just trying to worry about the large shapes first, to even greater extent. And this painting is sort of, a culmination of those thoughts. So when you have something darker here, just paint around it, right? What's lighter around it, and it just sort of evens out. So going over it again is just going to make that darker. So just paint around it and have the surrounding areas catch up. That's all. Yeah, that's true. There definitely has to be a balance. And Wendy, yes, I'm going to help you out with teeth. And it's not. It's teeth are easier. It's less is always more with teeth. And by all means, if you're working with airbrush, then my thing is use Frisket film in small areas, and that's going to help you with teeth. And you can do the same thing with teeth, and I believe you can use, I believe a clipping mask might help in digital. There we go. Now, let's take a look and assess the situation and ask myself, did I do everything I needed to do? No. Let's work on this here. This would probably be the most we've gotten done, I would say, in part one. We're pretty far already in for part one, so that's refreshing. Okay, so now what we can do is, let's just take care of this area right here. No points for speed. If you're fast, it's good, but that's not your goal. So when I'm getting down in dirty detail, teeth in digital and teeth with airbrush, yes. Definitely teeth in airbrush. That's basically my thing with that. You know, when you have a lot of, they're not in shadow, is use Frisket. Definitely Frisket makes the best teeth. In my opinion, in my humble opinion. Okay. So, let's make sure we work on this shadow right here. There we go. Okay, so we have a nice sense of an ensemble going here. I'm feeling good about it. Let's continue darkening this. Squint our eyes, Squint your eyes and you'll see where it's darker. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. And try not to see the detail early. And by squinting your eyes really, really helps. Try not to see the detail. Squint your eyes and you'll see the large pattern that makes up that feature. Plenty of time to get in there with the tight detail, right? We'll get there. That's no problem. But you only have this time in the beginning to really get that sense of a cartoon before all the detail is in there. So doing this technique would help you if you're planning on going over in color, whether it be watercolor, acrylic, airbrush, pastel. This is like a one size fits all technique here, and my India inks is definitely going to make your life so much easier. And that's what it's all about, making your life as an artist easier, worrying about the creation and not about fiddling with tools. You don't want to fiddle with tools. And that's why, you know, I use the Extreme Patriot Arrow, because I don't want to fiddle with all, you know, having the trigger not come back up or other problems. I want my airbrush to work when I hook it up to the hose. I want to just start working. There we go. I'm at really low air pressure here, guys. It's really low, so I have this choked down with the pack valve to a very large extent. So let's work on this larger shape here. In here. Remember, approach avoidance. I'm going after what is difficult, which is this little insignia. I'm going right at it. I'm tenacious. I'm a bulldog. And I want you to be that way when you're working too, you know. Oh, there's something difficult? I'm going right for it. Just do the 1 second rule. That will pay dividends. I'm going right after it, guys. Right after it. If there's a giant, you run towards it. It's funny, sometimes my best live streams don't have anyone in it. So Tone says he hated to break down the badger to clean it. It took like 20 minutes to get the trigger back in. Yes, it does take a while to get that, you know, because it's not as easy as the Iwata to put together. I'll definitely give you that, Tone. It took me a while once I, you know, because I was an Iwata guy, and it took me a while to get the hang of that, definitely. We have a little more of my lime tea here. So you have the big shapes and the little shapes. Going right at it. So I like to hear, you know, I have my friends out there. What projects are you working on? And love to hear if they're, you know, airbrush or a different project. Doesn't matter. Love to hear. One second rule is really going to keep you from going south here. Really pay attention and be diligent and finding those shapes before you paint them. Find them in your mind's eye first. go. So, see, you can attack that detail. You can attack it. So, oh, so Tone says I love that painting, how it's coming out. So Tone's working on that. That's really cool, the two women. And Wendy is doing an amazing, amazing digital portrait, and I really love it. You guys got to check out what she's doing. She's being too hard on herself. She's really doing great. So you see, 1 second rule is going to keep me from going off in my own direction here. Raise the air a little bit more. You know, you get to the point where you're lowering air, and then you're like, nothing's coming out. So, you know, you always got to make sure that you pay attention. All right. While we're here, let's put in a little bit of arm action there. So nice tightness in the lip, you know, as far as detail. I'm pretty happy with that. We'll come back with this detail here, and that's a little bit strong detail. I'll come back to that. Let's work on her eyes, shall we? Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, great, Tone. Looking forward to that, definitely. So Willie says he's just doing a portrait off the internet. Oh, great. I look forward to that. If you get a chance to post that, Willie, that's fantastic. And so that's really... Wendy says she's lost, but she's doing really well. Okay, so eyes, right? That's where we are. All right, let's go in. Nice and warmed up so we can make those eyes happen. We have to let the ink catch up to the surface, so you don't want to stay in one area too long. So you have to keep moving. Let the ink dry before you go over it again. Otherwise, you're going to pay the price. And spiders will come. Spiders are great, but not in painting. Okay, so what we do on one eye, we're going to make sure we do on the other eye. Now all eyes are different, especially when you have strong lights and darks here. Your lights are going to be lighter here, your darks are going to be darker here. Your value difference or disparity of values are going to be much greater here, and the value is going to be much closer here to one another. The reason being, in the light it's like a scream, in the dark it's like a whisper. So keep that in mind when you're painting. Okay, let's get busy. Just lighten that up just a tad. So we'll start with the dark. Very interesting, her eyes. Lights and darks, and we see the under part of her eyelid here. So we have to really be diligent to get that. Yes, we're coming in with white pastel later, but you want to take care of everything you can early going, so it's a lot easier for you when you are working on this later. This is real teeny tiny. One second rule is going to keep you from getting lost. So whatever you're going to paint, you're going to look for a second, and then you're going to paint for a second. Also, it's going to keep you from getting spidering, right? So when I'm getting more detail over here, I have to stop myself and equal it over here. You don't want to get ahead of yourself. You don't want to do an eye and a nose. You want to paint the ensemble, so you're going to keep them going. Okay, so let's catch this eye up. Don't worry about the highlight, that comes later. Big shapes. Squint your eyes and see the big shapes. Okay, so as you can see right now, we are really getting a nice sense of the ensemble things, you know, from the whole, and then getting the individual areas afterwards. And we're going to catch up the other eye. But let's make sure we calm down the values around this eye on the left. Everything's much darker. Okay, we're going to work on the other eye, and I will be right back, guys. Okay, thank you for that. Thanks for your patience, guys. And let's continue on with the other eye. Tone says this picture looks like it's fun to paint. Oh, great, Tone. That sounds fantastic. That would be very cool. I'd love to see what you come up with. I know you do a great job. Okay, we're going to work on this eye here. And let's bring the darkest dark, which here is the line between the upper part of her eye, the top of her eye, and the eyelid. That fold is the darkest dark. Definitely, Tone. I'll send you the photo, okay? I'll send you that image. I found a really good one. Plus, I went on the digital and I changed the edge work, so it it has nice soft edges and hard edges, and actually made it a little better than the photo that I found on the internet. So that's so cool. I'm so glad you're going to try it. go. Just catching up those eyes, right? You know? Everything looks dark now, but it's not dark at all, you know? Oh, cool. Very cool. So it's in the email. Perfect. Oh, that's right. It is in the email. That's right. I did send it to you. Okay, cool. Okay. So I can go further with the eye, but I'm going to really restrain myself because I don't want to get ahead, you know? You always want the eyes to be one step ahead of everything else because usually that's what the focus is of most portraits. Oh, thank you. So Wendy says looks 3D. Nice shadows and features. Yeah, this picture, this reference definitely. Well, also, you know, that's what the digital channel is going to be about, is taking your references and changing them to be optimal for working with Airbrush. So that's going to be one of the really cool things about my digital channel. It's going to be, you know, really geared for artists and changing photos to really make them work for you, you know? You know, whether you want to get, like, you want more drama, you can do that. You have that artistic license, right? So remember that all shadows are not the same, and then, you know, there's a lot going on. You know, the human form has bones and muscles underneath, so they're not like a robot. So there's going to be little areas where it's a little bit darker and a little bit lighter in some areas, you know. Oh yeah, I'll send you the original pic as well, that's for sure. And remember right here, this is much darker than the right side. You just want to really get a sense of the light, you know, and that's what we're painting. And you can even accentuate it, and I accentuate it in digital, and I'll also accentuate it, but most of my creativity happens before I touch the surface, you know? You know, the planning of when I'm working with a model, the pose, the lighting, when the photo is done, changing the edges, making blurs, adding color, subtracting color, all those different things. That's where most of the creativity happens. And then here is real technical. But they're very important, the light mixture, which I don't recommend for those in the very beginning, using my white mixture. The light mixture, yes, but the white mixture, that's something I would not want you to do on your first painting. That's like your second painting. When I have my students, first painting doesn't have the light mixture, second painting, definitely the light mixture. Because you have to know where to use it, right? You know, that's so important. And then one of the things that I'm going to do a video on is aim and how important aim is when you're airbrushing. you'll see as you get further along in your airbrush career that you'll have to be real succinct or concise. Is that the word? Concise or precise, I should say, not concise, precise. So precision is so important to get that exact, you get to nail it. Oh, so Brad says, what would you say your average plan time is? Well, today I was in a rush, but I would say to plan this painting, I would say a good 4 hours. But that's broken up over time. You don't have to do that right away. Breaking up over time, you have your digital sketchbook, and you have your regular sketchbook and, working on an idea. Or if you're just doing a portrait like this, looking on the internet, trying to find something that really suits you. And then when you find it, it's not over, then you have to manipulate it, right? You have to, play with the edges, try and figure out what is it about the portrait that sort of struck you in the first place, right? What is it that's, that got your attention right off the bat? And just as you let it dry, you can just calm down some of those edges here and there. Now you're not going to get rid of those lines. You're not going to get rid of those lines. You're just going to calm them down. But you can be real precise with your aim, and you could actually go right along that line, and you could almost make it disappear. So I'm going to put this on paintinglyphs.com, the picture. So if you want to see it, you can go there and download the photo reference. And that's the one that I manipulated, with the edges and the contrast and everything. So you'll be able to work from that if you so choose, Those who are seeing this video later down the line. And you don't want to neglect another side of the painting. So let's see what's happening on this side, which is the side on the right. And what can we do to bring this together? And let's see, can we calm down this pencil line? Oh yeah. And let's do that edge. I'm going to be very far away. It's going to be super subtle. And, as I want it to blend out, I'm going to get further and further away. Always doing the 1 second rule. Never get caught just painting and not looking. And let me just calm this down over here a little bit. There we go. There, I think that's good. Try not to worry about how things look early going. Try and do your best job, of course, but don't get hung up on the way it's looking at this stage. Right here, There's this little bit of light right underneath her lip. And let's see if we can describe this lip a little bit. Do not worry if it looks like her. Not in the early going. That's not your concern whatsoever. You know, whether it looks like your model in the early going. If you are worried about looking like her, you're off track. Because all your major painters throughout history were worried about large shapes first and getting them right. So my school of thought when it comes to airbrushing is, what if Rembrandt had an airbrush, or what if Angra had an airbrush? And that's basically how I think as an airbrush painter, or a painter that uses airbrush, the medium, is I'm thinking in terms of how the old masters would use it, what's their answers to this, not your typical industry standard, you know? It's just a different approach. It would be like the difference between Taekwondo and, let's say, Kung Fu. That sort of thing. So it's pretty much doing the same thing, but coming from a different place, a different approach. You know what I mean? So it's cool for some. Some people like that approach, some don't. That's cool, but I have a artistic history before I even touched an airbrush. Getting the shape of her lips there. Just always moving. Keep it moving. Don't want to get too involved with the lips right now. I feel myself getting too involved, so I'm just going to force myself away. Look away! Look away! Okay. Now, it might look dark there, but in reality it's far from dark. It's just everything else is so light around it that we get that impression. Okay, so let's make her forehead look like a forehead and not just like, you know, flat thing on top of her eyeballs. So we're just going to lessen this edge here. And let's start darkening her forehead and making it three-dimensional. Now, if I see up here, I want gradations, right? I don't necessarily want detail. There's not much detail in her forehead, but I do want gradations. And to get that, I just increase the distance of my airbrush from the surface. That's all. But there are details in her forehead here that we want to get. establish this dark here. Pretty dark. So as you see, once we darkened the eyes, started putting some detail in her eyes, you see that all of a sudden everything sort of lightens up. So that's going to continue throughout the painting. As you darken certain areas, other areas will just present themselves as being really light, and you just have to keep catching one area up with the next, you know. Here it's a little bit darker because it looks like it's getting more of a powerful cast shadow, so it's a little bit darker here. And let's see if we could start getting some of the shape of her forehead, the anatomy, you know, making it feel like, you know, there's muscle and everything. So Tone says, an airbrush artist asked me, did I think that I would be a better artist if I got a degree in it just the other day. He didn't think that it would make a difference. No difference whatsoever. This is my point of view. You know, as far as the technical aspects of art, you're much better off studying with an artist. Today, I would say an independent study would be best. You know, find yourself a mentor and study with them. And, you know, if you have that opportunity, that would be the best opportunity. You know, not just my class, but any artist that you admire. You know, someone like that. That's what I would say. If you admire an artist, definitely go ahead and try and get a mentorship. Also, try and, you know, you can definitely do it on your own. Today with YouTube and videos, you definitely can do it on your own. If you can take some classes, like at the National Academy School of Fine Arts or at the Art Students League here in New York City, that would really pay off dividends. And they're just monthly classes, which are really fantastic, something like that. But definitely not an art college. We're not going to learn how to paint from an art college, because you know what? You're going to be studying with someone who paints what, 6 hours a week, if that, and you know, and that's what they do. And no, you're not going to learn. We're not going to learn how to be a really good technical painter through them. Someplace at the National Academy School of Fine Arts, like I went to, the Art Students League, like I went to, that's where you would find that really that classical approach. However, if you were going to college, you wanted to be an artist, the best thing would do is to study art history. That would really help out. And then technology, you know, digital art, that sort of thing. That would help out your fine art. So I would say go into digital art and go into art history. Do a double major like that. If I can do it over again, that's what I would do. But as far as like learning how to paint, I never would have learned how to paint in college, because I actually tried college. I was on a dean's list in college. Went to Long Island University, and I was on a dean's list, but the art teachers weren't up to speed to me, and so that's why I ultimately left. And then I went to the National Academy School of Fine Art, where I was able to find artists that were up there. Tone says he thinks the influence of students alone would help, plus the teacher. Yes, but not in college though. That's just my opinion, my findings. Because when I was in college, the professors, for the most part, it wasn't their life, you know. And I always wanted to learn from somebody that had the same passion as me. And the only place I could find that was at the National Academy School of Fine Arts or the Art Students League. I couldn't find that in a college. You know what it is when you not going into the college environment, and you're just learning art. You're all in. You know what I mean? You are, you're sort of burning your boats behind you like the Vikings did. So you're not going to say, I'm going to do something. I have something to fall back on. I'm going to college, so I can always be an art teacher at a high school or something. So I'll get my degree, and I'll be on my merry way, and I'll have, but to have that technical knowledge, the expertise that only comes through time and being under the tutelage of a master, you're not going to get that at a college. No way. But that's why I say, if you're at college, do at the college what they are best at. Study art history, study technology in the arts, digital art, animation. Those are things that if you're going to have a job, that would be a heck of a fun job, right? So you can do that, and that could help your art in the long run. I'm going to make the neck darker because the neck is, if I squint my eyes, right? Squint your eyes at your reference, and it'll tell you where you have to go darker. So I'm squinting my eyes, and I see that the neck area is much darker than everything going on over here. So I'm going to darken that value, But yeah, I'm a sort of an amateur art historian. I took art history in college, and I just fell in love with it. My discipline is 19th century French academic and neoclassical paintings and painters. But, that really, I feel, gives me an edge over other artists is my knowledge, and over other teachers is my knowledge of art history and the artists that, where we are today, So you hated art history, Tone. So Tone, now I know in art history, you didn't get to 19th century. You had to go through, the cathedrals and, all the other stuff, the Gothic painting and everything. So what class did you take, Tone? It was rough in the beginning, but once I got to the 19th century, I was like in heaven. But yeah, it took a while to get there. But I guess what I mean is like, if you're in college, do what they specialize in, which is like learning with books, We're not going to learn how to paint from them. You know what it is? They're all thought and not practicality as far as learning the medium. And you see a lot of artists who basically are, they have great ideas, but they don't have the tools to paint them. And that's a shame. But then they look down on artists like me and you and everyone. They say, wow, he has no imagination, or she has no imagination. Well, you know what? I'd rather have no imagination than technique. I can always work on my imagination, but they would have to go back to school to do their technique. So yeah, I come across, the PhDs in art and everything, and they sort of start off on a high horse, and then they see my technique, and then they sort of calm down, because they know. See if I can calm down. Speaking of calming down, I'm going to calm down this edge here. Some of these lines. So we're at 11:08, and look how far we have gotten already on this painting. I think we really have gotten far today. This is probably one of the more intense of the part ones that we did so far. But I also want to impart that the more I had time to really plan out this painting, the better it came out. So that the more you put in, usually the more you get out. So Brad says, some people with more degrees than and they are untouchable. It's true, we can be too big for our bridges, and really it's important to be teachable, and it's important to continue studying. So I even said to myself, what if I came into money? I would just study the heck out of everything. I'd study Portuguese, and I'd study oil painting. Well, I already studied oil painting, but I'd find a master, and I would study that. I would study watercolors. I'd study, landscape painting, and I would just be studying like crazy. If I didn't have to worry about money, I'd just be studying like nuts. Oh, so Tone says he majored in art in high school with a year of art and advertising design in college and had one airbrush lesson in his life. Well, that's the thing. You self-taught. You have that beginning. You studied art, so you know how to teach yourself, Tone. So that's why you were able to do that. You had that basis. It's not like you don't have anything, so you have that direction from those teachers in the early years. So that's good. So, did you go to an art high school, Tone, in New York City? Because I went to the High School of Art and Design in Manhattan, as you know. And I know there was music and art, and there was fashion industries. They had good art programs. Okay, so we got some work to do in her hands, don't we? So let's see. Let's get our pencil. We can always do better with the pencil than we ever could with the airbrush. So, if you're gonna climb a tree, you need a squirrel, and if you're gonna be on a lily pad, you need a frog. So if you're doing drawing, if someone's like, "Oh, I use a airbrush," well, I'm sorry, but a squirrel climbs a tree better, no matter how many times the squirrel is up in that tree or climbing that tree. The frog, the squirrel is always going to climb the tree better. I like squirrels and I like frogs. Oh, a graffiti artist, very cool. And so, oh yeah, if he was in New York and he was a graffiti artist, I'm sure you. So what was it, the A train? Because you're from Queens, right? Or the N? Were those the trains you got a hold of? That was big when I was a kid. Growing up at our High School of Art and Design, we had a lot of graffiti artists. One of the most famous graffiti artists, of course, was Jean-Michel Basquiat. Are you a fan of Basquiat, Tone? Plush, safe, he think. That was one of his famous graffiti writings. Plush, safe, he think. Great movie if you get a chance. Basquiat. David Bowie's in it. Jeffrey Wright, amazing actor, right? Everyone from Tatum O'Neal, Parker Posey, Gary Oldman. Just a really great artist movie. Jean-Michel Basquiat. Oh, so you're not a big Basquiat fan. Okay, cool. That's all right. Tone says he wasn't good enough for art and design. He went to Beach Channel High and had a good art program. Did you apply to art and design, my friend? You're definitely good enough for art and design, that's for sure. So, believe me, I know a lot of people who went to art and design. You blow them out of the way, Tone, when it comes to, your technique and your talent. So that's not true. You are good enough. Oh, so you did try out for. What year did you graduate? Would you have graduated? I graduated in 85. See, I already told. See, you guys got my age. I'm old. Just getting those hands. See how I'm just establishing those hands? It would be horrible if I worked on the hand, didn't have the hands totally voided and did all this detail up in her face, right? Oh man, that happens, right? So yeah, we all have off days, you know what I mean, Tone? So now for me, I actually found out about art and design when I moved in my 8th year from Jersey to New York City. And then I was lucky because I was too late to enter in my 8th year. So I had a whole year to try for it. I was determined, Tone. So for a whole year, I just worked on my portfolio. And I had a friend in art and design, and he was helping me as to what they need in art and design. I had no, I didn't have any kind of, you know, schooling as far as anyone helping me with art. The art teachers in junior high were horrible, and they never taught me a lick of anything. But I got those Walter Forster books. Remember them back in the 80s, Tone? How to draw, how to draw the head, how to draw the nude, anatomy and whatnot. So so I did that, cartooning and everything, all the different mediums, and I studied, all the way until then. Hey, what's up, Todd? Todd, how you doing? Good to see you. So you see, I'm even establishing her hands there, catching everything up, painting the ensemble, not letting anything catch up or go too far ahead of anything else in the painting. I think that's important. What do you guys think? You think that's important to, get that feeling, See if I could make this a little bit bigger. There we go. And let's look and make sure her bicep here. Just want to catch everything up to everything. Yes, those little thin books, like a magazine, they were like $2. Like $2. Yeah, they were $2, and just amazing, just fantastic. And let's work on her bicep here. Just gonna tone down this line here. There we go. Get a nice feeling of light and form. Even in the early goings, Yeah, me too. They were fantastic. Plus, remember American Artist Magazine was always so great back then? And also helped me a lot, great deal, was Marvel Comics and DC. That really, gave structure to my figure drawing. Gene Colan, or Gene Cologne, what was the other guy? Kirby and those artists. There's Perez. There's one guy, last name Perez. He did the Teen Titans. Those guys were really important for helping me, get my love of drawing, because their drawings were just out of this world, as you know. Were you into comics as a kid, Tone? Because I was. I was always attracted to the figure. The female form mostly. And let's darken this here. Get that dark edge, right? This dark shape. Because I'm squinting my eyes, and what do I see? I see this dark under her hand. And we're going to crawl along the surface. Make sure we wipe it off, because you don't want to get ink, because ink's gonna build up, so you want to wipe it off on a shirt you don't care about, or definitely don't want to wipe it off on someone else's shirt. I think they'll hit you. I'm gonna go much darker, but I'm just establishing it, so when I squint my eyes, it's the same tonal pattern, right? So that's what you want to have. Now, you look at this painting, and it's, it's still very light, but at least we're getting yes, Kirby, love Kirby. He was fantastic. Sal Buscemi. Oh yeah, all right. So, all right. So you're a Marvel bro like myself. So did you get drawing comics the Marvel way? That was always great, right? Everyone had that book in high school. How to draw comics the Marvel way. So me and Tone, man, we probably were in the same magazine stores, right? Did you go to Forbidden Planet in the city? So a lot of the artists in our day, started out. Gil Kane, yeah, that is amazing. Who was the guy who did Sergeant Rock, and he had actually an art school? He had an art school in New Jersey. What was his name, if you can recall? He was the artist who did Sergeant Rock. Sounds like you were a DC guy. I don't know. Were you a DC guy, Tone? Because they were totally different back then. A different flavor. Oh, after you was grown. Okay. Yeah, I was into that in my teens, early teens. John Romita was great. So you other people out there, my other friends, were you guys into comics at all when you were kids? What was it that got you into art? I'd love to hear what got you guys into art. Was there an artist, or was it your mom or dad who got you into painting? I'd love to hear in the last few minutes of this live stream. I'd love to hear, what drew you to art, because usually there's one person that usually gets you inspired. So who is it, who inspired you or encouraged you into art? And maybe you're just doing it now, and you never really gave it much thought, and you're doing it now, and that's cool, because it doesn't matter, just that you got into it, you did it. Oh, Sergeant Rock. Yeah, Sergeant Rock is an older comic. Oh, he had his own school and everything. I think it was in Dumont, New Jersey, or something like that. There we go. So it's not a bad start, I would have to say I'm pretty. So Brad said he had an uncle who was a commercial artist, and he showed how easy. Well, how cool is that? So he was a real big influence on you, and I'm sure he's really excited. So Tone says his mom and his cousin Derek and a babysitter he had. That is so cool. So you had a group of people that really pushed you. My mom and dad were mine, because they used to always brag, show everyone my pictures and everything like that, and always told me I was an artist from a young kid. So I always associated, because if they told me I stunk when I was young, I wouldn't associate myself with as an artist at such a young age. So I can't. So did this live stream go fast, guys, or was it just me? This was a rather pleasant live stream. Remember, perpendicular and not parallel. Oh, yeah, thanks, Tone. Yeah, Brad as well. Thanks. Yeah, it just seemed to be nice, It was a good live stream, so I'm happy. Uh, they're not always so smooth, right? You guys and girls who are here every week, that, some of them you know, don't always go as planned, you know, so it's nice when they just go really smooth. So always evolve your technique, always try and find a better mousetrap, right? And I can't stress that enough. You know, every painting should be a pragmatic continuation of the last one. Whenever you had a, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Brad says she looks great. And Todd says he wasn't. He felt special. He guess he tried to draw and still to this day. No, you keep going, man. You're doing great, Todd. So, you know, you get plenty of encouragement because you're good, you know, and, you know, just keep going. You're doing well. We don't always know how well we're doing, and I really think you're kicking butt, Todd. So I'm excited about your progress, and I love your work. You're an artist. Oh, Tone says her eyes and mouth looks good already. Thank you, my friend. And Wendy says, fast, looks so amazing, Tim. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, the extra time that I really took and a little bit of a different approach, which I'll be using more and more as time goes on. So definitely a different approach with this one. So far it seems like the experiment is working, which is very encouraging. Never get complacent, guys. Not that yous are, but always try and find a better mousetrap. Always try and just take your work to that next level. You know? Figure out the better way. But let it be a pragmatic approach from the last painting that you had some struggle with, and let this painting or your next painting be about that struggle and how you can fix it, or how can you improve on it, or avoid the issue that you had in the last painting. And that's how you have that linear progression of your work in technique and also in what you're trying to say. Oh, thanks, Todd. I appreciate that. What's the difference approach? Basically, the drawing aspect, just spending a little more time on the drawing and not worrying so much about pencil lines and dealing with them. So definitely point of departure and just really getting into the painting a little more bold, right? Not getting too involved in little details in the beginning. So just having that approach of working from the large shapes and the small shapes, right? And so 11:28. So this has gone by quick. Let's see. I'm going to stand by. I'm going to be further away. I'm just going to do this little line here, and right there. Connect this up here. I'm a good 3 to 4 inches away when I'm doing real loose detail. We don't want to overdo anything. We want to see how we're keeping everything pretty much coming together. Ah, you are an artist, Todd. Don't let yourself tell you otherwise, okay? And if you ever forget, I'll always tell you, and everyone here will remind you that you are a very good artist. And you're a born artist, so. So when I come back, I'm gonna darken this here, increase the contrast here, and just continue. The next part 2 is still gonna have mostly the light mixture. So we'll still be working on the light mixture, start putting in some of the detail of her jewelry, getting that drawn out, then coming in with the darks of the jewelry, then deepening some of the darks here by doing another layer of the light mixture. And then part 3, of course, is going to be coming in with the medium mixture, enriching our darks, And so part 4, part 5 will probably be when we do our dark mixture, and then the highlight. So this probably, thanks Tone. Tone says a good show, and I appreciate that. So we did it, guys. Way to go. Thank you so much for hanging with me. I appreciate it. Love you guys. And I hope to see you next week. If you have any questions, let me know. Be more than happy to help you. Take care of yourselves. And once again, thank you for hanging